Honorable Justice Arijit Pasayat, the Vice Chairperson of the SIT and a former judge of the Supreme Court, our distinguished guest today, Mr. Murray Michael, Mr. Shaktikant Das, Dr. Katod, Shri Arun Jaitley, former Director of the Enforcement of Director, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the very outset congratulate the individuals and the branches of the Directorate which have been honoured today on the occasion of the Enforcement Day. Most investigative agencies have now established a good convention of celebrating one day in the year as their foundation day. I don't know whether there is any significance of 1st May in the context of I'm told it was founded as a unit of the government on the 1st of May, and that is why this becomes the Enforcement Day. But almost every intelligence agency, every investigative agency has now started this healthy practice of having their own foundation day. The Enforcement Directorate over the years has also evolved as an organization. It started functioning when we had a huge inadequacy of foreign exchange. And therefore anybody found guilty of any exchange or currency related offences was guilty under the old law, which was a law under the then economic regime. And as the agency grew, its own functioning started adding teeth to that law. And therefore the deterrence of the law itself prevented many from committing the offence. But parallelly, there were other developments world over taking place. The nature of the offences and the ability of the offender to commit those offences was also changing. The ability to transmit money, to earn money out of crime, and to park those profits of crime anywhere in the world was becoming simpler. You did not have to physically carry the money. The flight of capital could take place and it could be flown through dozens and scores of countries literally within seconds and minutes. And by a process of layering, the movement of the money was to be concealed. And offenders relied on the secrecy of the whole process. There was yet another difficulty with and that's a difficulty that prevails even today. The authority of the investigative agency was territorial in character. Unless you are an Interpol and you have your own federal units elsewhere in the world through state agencies, your jurisdiction was coming to an end with the territorial boundaries of India. And the offenders thought that once they or the asset itself travelled across the boundaries, there would be difficulties. And I remember and I'm sure I see in the audience Mr. Borelal present here. in the year 1990, where both of us in then different capacities were together involved in some investigation, for the first time this whole idea of a formal statutory international cooperation was conceived of, and that's when the provisions of sending letter of decrees were introduced through an ordinance in the Code of Criminal Procedure. So that in one country, sitting from India, you could seek cooperation from other state agencies, otherwise there was no statutory backing before that to the whole process. Technology also enables reasonable ease in the commission of the offence. And therefore, whereas on one hand a country needs foreign exchange, a country like India, there are items we are net buyers of globally. We are net buyers of oil. We are net buyers of edible oil. We are net buyers of even pulses, electronic items. And therefore, these are essential items for which we do require a large amount of foreign exchange. We can't afford to deplete our resources, because if the resources itself go down, then the value of our currency itself weakens. And one of the reasons why, with the strengthening the dollar in the last few months, is only because our reserves have kept us in the game, that most other currencies in the world, whether it's Brazil or it's Russia or it's most of the European currencies, the euro, they've depleted substantially. To a large extent, the rupee is amongst the few currencies which have struggled to keep pace with the dollar, though there has been a slight depletion. For other currencies, we've appreciated. And one of the reasons is our ability to keep our foreign reserves in order, and our ability to have a deterrent in the system against an unlawful flight of that foreign currency. But then you have profits of crime, which are also world over. It's not only tax evasion money. That's one of the monies which is available. It could be monies arising out of terrorism, it could be profits arising out of narcotics, it could be profits arising out of gun running. It could be a result of what the Revenue Secretary said, trade-based offences, under-invoicing, over-invoicing in some cases. And it is therefore that you need a mechanism in order to investigate this. So our legislative regime has changed. The old law, which was becoming anachronic with the times, has been replaced. From a regulation law, you now have a management law. Since we have surplus, we can afford to spend. And therefore there is a disincentive on people transacting through unlawful channels of currency. But then you also need a law to prevent laundering offences. And our systems are broadly in place. The world today is moving in two different directions. Economic liberalism, globalization, interchangeability of currencies, surplus availability of currencies is a facility which is available. It's a facility available for lawful transactions. And therefore, if the world is becoming economically closer to each other and smaller in size, it's not willing to accept any unlawful violations of currency. And therefore, if we see the kind of trends which are moving globally, it's going to be a harder place for offenders in days to come. So from a regime where once people thought some 2 decades ago that if you cross the territorial boundary, either the asset crosses it or the individual crosses it, you are safe. The country can't hold you up for offense. So the G20 initiative on transmission, automatic transmission of information with regard to monetary transactions, and a large number of countries are taking active interest. India is foremost amongst them. And by 2017, the target is that all transactions would become transparent. Each country would go out of the way to cooperate with others. The Americans have particularly taken a strong initiative in their domestic law. They want every country to sign an arrangement with them with regard to the transmission of information, the law which is in acronym called PATCA. At a later stage, countries which sign that arrangement, interstate, will also have the arrangement. And therefore, both these arrangements by 2017 are going to make it extremely risky for anybody to have unlawful assets or unlawful transactions of money. We in India have to prepare our people for it. The Supreme Court has appointed the SIT, which is keeping a close eye on the systems that we are setting up and on enhancing our abilities to investigate those cases. And therefore it's quite a precarious situation for the offenders in 2015 as we watch the run-up to 2017, where with each passing day situation will become difficult for them. It is for this reason that we have been taking, some at the instance of the SIT, some at our own initiative, steps to squeeze unlawful assets, unlawful money transactions or black money transactions within the country and outside the country. They hurt the whole system. If you have a parallel economy running, it operates outside your economic structure, it operates outside your taxation structure, it operates outside the GDP. And if this is included within the structured economy, our growth would be higher, our tax revenues would be higher, our ability to lower our tax rates would be higher. And therefore it's a larger public interest that not transacting in black money now becomes a way of life. It will probably make you sleep well and protect you from penal consequences. And therefore the trends today are liberal economies which allows you to grow and earn, more reasonable tax rates, and enabling economy. And therefore on one hand we bring down our corporate tax rates, we give more facilities to do business, we ease the processes of doing business. All this should be an incentive to avoid the temptation of violating the law. And the global trends and also the domestic abilities at catching the offenders should be a deterrent so as to avoid the offences. In the last few months, our tax departments, the enforcement departments have been working round the clock, the officers have been working round the clock. So in cases where facts have come, there is an international cooperation going on, more details with regard to individual offenders are coming in cases which were disclosed. Next week I intend to take up before Parliament the law with regard to taxation on undisclosed assets and incomes abroad. There are a large number of prosecutions against those offenders whose accounts were informed to Government of India, which have been filed in the last few months. I understand correctly, the assessments of hundreds of those cases has been completed. 121 prosecutions have been filed by the tax department against those who were caught with accounts abroad. And therefore I think for every assessee, every person in commercial business also, it's a judgment call that in a liberal economic environment of reasonable and lower taxation rates, go straight. And therefore if you transact within the limits of law, it's much safer. If you breach it, gone are the days where offences would go undetected. The world is moving towards a more transparent regime which will remove the veil of secrecy behind these unlawful transactions. And I'm sure the job that Enforcement Directorate has been doing over these years, where you faced many challenges for want of international cooperation in several cases, that job will also become easier. With each passing day, your capacity building is taking place to discharge the responsibility which has been vested in you. I am sure your officers have been doing that job. Last week I told the CBI that many in the society can err at their annual day lecture. But just as we expect a perfect judiciary, India should start hoping for perfect investigation agencies. That equally applies to you. The balancing act between detecting the offence and the offender and avoiding the overkill, avoiding the over-enthusiasm. That's a balancing act, and therefore there is no harassment of an innocent. Trivialities can be ignored, but serious offenders will be brought to book. And that balancing act with your capacity building, I am sure you will be able to achieve. I wish the Directorate all the very best in terms of its performance and activities in the days and years to come. Thank you.